Deep in the oldest section of the Council archives, historian Nari discovered files that had been sealed for thousands of years. The ancient records were written in languages that predated most current galactic species, but her translation programs slowly revealed their shocking contents. The files told a story completely different from accepted galactic history. They described a civilization that had ruled the galaxy long before any current species had developed space travel. These ancient people had built the hyperspace networks, created the first artificial intelligences, and established the foundations of galactic civilization. According to the records, this lost empire had vanished suddenly without explanation, leaving behind only ruins and technological artifacts that other species had discovered and copied. Most of the galaxy fundamental technologies were actually reverse-engineered from these ancient devices. What made Nari's hands shake as she read was the description of these vanished people. They were bipedal with varying skin tones, diverse languages, and an insatiable curiosity about the universe. The physical descriptions matched humans perfectly. Archaeologist Dong Wu had spent decades studying ruins found throughout the galaxy. The architectural style and tool design suggested a species very similar to humans, but he had always assumed this was coincidence. Now he realized the similarities were too exact to be accidental. DNA analysis of organic samples found in ancient sites revealed genetic markers that matched the human crew members from the Phoenix. The evidence was overwhelming. Humans were not originally from Earth but were descendants of the galaxy. First, spacefaring civilization captain Hyunwoo confirmed the discovery when directly questioned about human origins. He admitted that Earth scientists had uncovered their true heritage decades ago. Hidden beneath their planet's surface were installations left by their ancestors, who had fled to Earth during some ancient catastrophe. The revelation that humans were the descendants of the galaxy builders explained how they had developed advanced technology so quickly during their isolation. They had not invented new science but had rediscovered knowledge that was rightfully theirs. Ancient texts translated by librarian Dong Wu described the original human empire as the builders who had created most of the technology that current galactic civilization depended on. The hyperspace gates, the universal translation protocols, and even the basic principles of faster-than-light travel had all been human inventions. The quarantine imposed on humanity took on a sinister new meaning. It had not been created by the current Galactic Council but by their predecessors who feared that humans might remember their origins and reclaim their position as galactic leaders. Historical records showed that the quarantine had been established immediately after human archaeological teams on Earth began uncovering ancient installations. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental. Someone had been watching and had acted to prevent human awakening. Captain Hyunwoo revealed that the installations beneath Earth contained vast libraries of technical knowledge and historical records. His ancestors had hidden these repositories before fleeing to Earth during the collapse of their original civilization. The human captain explained that Earth scientists had spent generations carefully studying the ancient knowledge. They had not simply copied old designs, but had improved and modernized them, using centuries of additional research and development. This explained why human technology was so advanced yet completely different from current galactic standards. They were working from a foundation of knowledge that predated everything other species knew about science and engineering. The political implications sent shockwaves through every government in the galaxy. Species that considered themselves ancient discovered they were relative newcomers, while the supposedly primitive humans represented a direct connection to galactic history. Some species welcomed the revelation and wanted to learn from humanity ancient wisdom. Others resented the idea that their entire civilization was built on borrowed technology and feared losing their independence to returning human leadership. Religious movements sprang up overnight, with some groups hailing humans as the returning gods who would restore the galaxy to its golden age. Other faiths declared humanity to be false prophets whose return would bring destruction. The economic effects were immediate, as entire industries based on reverse-engineered ancient technology faced the prospect of human owners holding the original patents. Trade relationships that had existed for millennia suddenly seemed built on stolen foundations. Military analysts realized that human weapons technology was not surprisingly advanced, but was actually the original version of systems that other species had only partially understood. Galactic weapons were crude copies compared to what the builders had originally created. Archaeological expeditions launched immediately to ancient sites throughout the galaxy, searching for evidence that would either confirm or deny the human claims. Every discovery seemed to support the idea that humans were indeed the galaxy's original civilization. The Phoenix database contained star charts, showing the locations of thousands of ancient installations hidden throughout galactic space. Many were on worlds that current species considered their homelands, but which had actually been human colonies originally. Captain Hyun-woo offered to share the complete historical records with any species that wanted to learn the truth about galactic history. He explained that Earth had no desire to reclaim ancient territories, but wanted other species to understand their true origins. The revelation that humanity had once ruled the galaxy but had chosen to withdraw rather than fight for dominance impressed many observers. Most species would have used such historical claims to justify conquest, but humans seemed genuinely interested only in peaceful coexistence. Xenobiologist Sura analyzed genetic samples from multiple species and found traces of human DNA in many galactic races. The ancient empire had apparently been very diverse, with humans intermarrying with other intelligent species. They encountered the discovery that many current galactic species were actually part human descendants, created complex family relationships that spanned thousands of years. Some groups embraced their human heritage, while others rejected it as impossible, cultural. Exchanges began as human scholars shared ancient art, music, and literature with their galactic cousins. The depth and beauty of the original human civilization amazed even species that had initially feared human return. The most significant revelation came when Captain Hyun-woo explained why the original human empire had collapsed. Internal conflicts had torn the civilization apart, as different human factions chose different paths forward. Some had become conquerors while others had become protectors. Ancestors of current humanity had been the protectors who had chosen to abandon their empire, rather than see it continue to cause suffering. They had sealed away their technology and fled to isolated worlds like Earth, waiting for a time when they could return as peacemakers. This explained human behavior during their return to galactic space. They possessed overwhelming power, but used it only defensively because their entire culture was built around the rejection of conquest as a solution to problems. The galaxy faced a new understanding of its own history and humanity role in that story. The species that had once banished humans from galactic civilization now learned that they owed their very existence to human ancestors who had chosen peace over power as the truth spread throughout known space. The question was no longer whether humans deserved to rejoin galactic society, but whether galactic society deserved to be rejoined by the wise descendants of its original builders. Admiral Kang Dae commanded the radical faction ships as they moved into attack formation against the Phoenix. He believed that destroying the human flagship would send Earth fleet running back to their home system. The 4 warships under his command carried enough firepower to destroy any known vessel. The attack came without warning as 3 heavy cruisers and 1 dreadnought opened fire simultaneously. Their combined weapons could have turned a small moon into dust. Admiral Kang Dae expected to see the human ship break apart under the massive assault. Instead, something impossible happened. The Phoenix absorbed every shot without taking visible damage. Its shields flared bright blue, then seemed to grow stronger with each impact. The human ship sat motionless in space as if the attack was merely an annoying light. Show Captain Hyun-woo's response was swift and precise. The Phoenix fired 4 beams of strange energy that struck each attacking ship simultaneously. The weapons did not cause explosions or visible damage, but all 4 galactic vessels suddenly went dark and began drifting helplessly. Engineer Young-ho aboard the monitoring station watched the battle recordings in amazement. The human weapons had somehow drained all power from the attacking ships without harming their crews. Every electrical system had been shut down, but the hulls remained intact. Admiral Kang Dae found himself trapped aboard a dead ship with no power, no communications, and no weapons. His engineering teams reported that every energy storage device had been completely emptied, but showed no physical damage. The human weapons worked on principles unknown to galactic science. The Phoenix moved closer to the disabled ships and Captain Hyun-woo broadcast a message to the helpless crews. He explained that human weapons were designed to disable rather than destroy because Earth valued all intelligent life, even when that life chose to be hostile. Medical ships arrived from the human fleet to offer assistance to the attacking crews. Lieutenant Commander Yoonji led the medical teams aboard the disabled Galactic vessels. She and her doctors provided emergency care and life support without asking for anything in return. The sight of humans helping their attackers shocked observers throughout the galaxy. Most species would have left disabled enemies to drift in space or demanded surrender before offering aid. But the humans acted as if healing wounded enemies was simply the natural thing to do. When questioned about this behavior, Lieutenant Commander Yoonji explained that humanity had learned from its violent past. Strength was not measured by how much damage you could cause, but by how much restraint you could show when victory was certain. Admiral Kang Dae was brought aboard the Phoenix for medical treatment and found himself face-to-face with Captain Hyun-woo. The human captain was polite and concerned about the Admiral's health, even though the man had just tried to kill him and his entire crew. The conversation between the two military leaders was recorded and broadcast throughout the galaxy. Captain Hyun-woo explained that humans understood fear and aggression because they had once been consumed by both Earth. Long isolation had forced them to confront their own nature and choose a better path. Admiral Kang Dae demanded to know why humans had not simply destroyed his ships when they clearly had the power to do so. Captain Hyun-woo's answer was simple: because destroying enemies created more enemies, while showing mercy could sometimes create friends. The human captain offered to share the defensive technologies that had protected the Phoenix during the attack. He suggested that all galactic species could benefit from better shields and non-lethal weapons that could end conflicts without creating martyrs. This generous offer, after being attacked, sent shockwaves through government centers across the galaxy. Military leaders could not understand why anyone would share defensive secrets with potential enemies. It went against every tactical principle they had learned. Science teams began analyzing the battle recordings, trying to understand how human weapons worked. The energy patterns were completely unknown and seemed to violate several physical laws. The humans had somehow learned to manipulate matter and energy in ways no other species had discovered. The disabled galactic ships were fully repaired by human engineering teams and returned to their crews along with detailed explanations of what had been fixed. This technical sharing revealed that human understanding of galactic technology was far more advanced than anyone had suspected. Captain Hyun-woo announced that the Phoenix would remain at the border until the Galactic Council made a formal decision about human membership. He promised that no more attacks would be made unless other ships fired first, but also made clear that Earth would defend itself if necessary. Revelation that humans possessed overwhelming military superiority, but chose to use it defensively, changed many opinions about Earth intentions. If they wanted to conquer the galaxy, they could have done so already. The fact that they asked for peaceful integration suggested genuine desire for cooperation. Religious leaders began debating whether human restraint represented spiritual evolution. Most species increased their military power and used it to dominate others. But humans had achieved ultimate power and chosen to limit themselves. This restraint seemed almost divine in nature. Cultural analysts studied recordings of human crew interactions, looking for signs of deception or hidden aggression. Instead, they found people who seemed genuinely committed to peaceful principles while maintaining the strength to enforce those principles when necessary. The economic implications of human technology became clearer as experts analyzed the defensive systems. The humans had solved energy storage problems that had puzzled galactic scientists for centuries. Their manufacturing techniques could revolutionize industry throughout known space trade. Representatives began calculating the benefits of human membership versus the costs of continued conflict. The technologies Earth offered could increase prosperity for everyone, while their military power could protect galactic civilization from external threats. Admiral Kang Dae was released without conditions and returned to his ship along with full technical specifications for the weapons that had disabled his fleet. Captain Hyun-woo's personal message wished him well and invited him to visit Earth as an honored guest. The gesture of turning an enemy into a potential friend through generosity and respect impressed many species who had never seen such behavior. Human strength was not just in their weapons, but in their ability to end conflicts through mercy, rather than violence. As news of the battle spread throughout, the galaxy public opinion began to shift. Many civilians who had feared human return now saw them as protectors who could defend galactic civilization, while showing restraint toward the defeated. Military academies began requesting copies of the battle recordings to study human tactics. The combination of overwhelming firepower with precise restraint created new models for how advanced civilizations should conduct warfare. The Phoenix continued its patient wait at the galactic border while repair crews finished restoring the damaged ships. The human fleet remained ready for battle, but made no threatening moves. Captain Hyunwoo had proven that Earth knew power came with wisdom that had been earned through centuries of growth and self-reflection. The galaxy faced a new reality where the most powerful military force was also the most reluctant to use violence. This paradox challenged every assumption about strength and civilization, forcing everyone to reconsider what it meant to be truly advanced. The Great Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 400 species gathered for the emergency session. Chancellor Bo-Ra struck her ceremonial gong 3 times, trying to bring order to the chaos. But voices continued to rise from every section of the massive hall. The crystalline collective representatives shimmered with angry red light as they recalled ancient stories about human violence. Their leaders spoke in ringing tones about the last time humans had been allowed to roam free through the galaxy. 3 worlds had been burned and millions had died before the humans were finally contained. Admiral J-Ho stood at the military briefing station surrounded by holographic displays showing the human fleet. His report made even the bravest species representatives shift uncomfortably in their seats. The human ships were not just powerful, they were completely unknown in design and capability. Intelligence Officer Hei Wan presented her analysis of human technology and the results were disturbing. Humans had developed along completely different paths than any other known species. Where galactic civilization focused on efficiency and elegance, humans had chosen raw power and redundant systems. Every human ship was built like a mobile fortress designed to operate alone for years without support. They carried their own manufacturing facilities, medical centers, and even entertainment systems. The level of self-sufficiency was something no other species had achieved. The economic representatives were equally worried. Trade Guild leader Moxu explained that human manufacturing techniques could destroy established markets across the galaxy. The humans could apparently build things faster and cheaper than anyone else. Their industrial capacity was beyond anything previously imagined. Cultural analyst Minho presented recordings of human entertainment and art that had been intercepted from their communications. The music was wild and emotional in ways that made many species uncomfortable. Human stories showed levels of individual creativity that challenged basic assumptions about civilization. Religious leaders debated whether humanity represented evolution or corruption of natural development. Some saw human passion and individuality as divine gifts, while others viewed their intense emotions as dangerous chaos that could infect other species. The debate continued for hours with no clear consensus emerging. Some species wanted immediate military action to force humans back into quarantine. Others argued for careful negotiation and gradual integration. The fear was obvious in every voice that spoke. Defense Minister Wu Jin demanded that the council authorize a preemptive strike against the human fleet. He argued that waiting would only allow humans to bring more ships and become even more dangerous. The time to act was now while they still had numerical advantage. But science advisor Da-un countered that attacking would prove humans right about galactic aggression. She pointed out that Captain Hyunwoo had made no threats and had offered to share beneficial technologies. Military action would make the galaxy look like the violent party. The hive communes expressed worry about cultural contamination. Human individualism could undermine their collective decision-making processes. If human ideas spread, it might destroy the harmony they had spent millennia building. Ambassador Ye Jun gave his report about meeting Captain Hyunwoo, and the reaction was mixed. Some representatives were impressed by human politeness and offers of cooperation. Others saw the massive fleet as proof that humans were planning conquest, regardless of their words. Engineer Subin analysis of human ship construction caused particular concern. The humans had obviously spent centuries preparing for this moment. Every aspect of their technology seemed designed for independence and long-range operations. This was not the work of a species seeking integration. As arguments raged throughout the chamber, Captain Hyunwoo suddenly appeared on every communication screen in the building. He had somehow bypassed all security systems and was broadcasting directly to the council session. The technical skill required for such a feat was terrifying. The human captain spoke calmly and politely as if he were addressing friends at a social gathering. He introduced humanity to the assembled species and explained Earth's desire to rejoin Galactic civilization peacefully. His words were simple but carried an underlying strength. Captain Hyunwoo talked about human values of freedom, growth, and the right to chart their own destiny. He acknowledged that humans had made mistakes in the past, but said they had learned from those errors. The long isolation had been used for self-improvement and reflection. The captain offered to demonstrate human peaceful intentions by sharing advanced medical technologies that could extend lifespans for dozens of species. He also mentioned manufacturing techniques that could end resource scarcity and provide abundance for everyone. But the most shocking moment came when Captain Hyunwoo revealed how much humans knew about current galactic affairs. He mentioned recent political events, trade disputes, and military movements that were supposed to be secret information. This knowledge proved that human surveillance was far more extensive than anyone had imagined. Chancellor Bora demanded to know how humans had accessed restricted information. Captain Hyunwoo smiled and explained that Earth had been monitoring galactic communications for generations. They had learned not just languages, but the intimate details of how galactic society functioned. Implications were staggering. If humans had been watching for so long, they knew about military capabilities, political alliances, and economic weaknesses. They had prepared for this moment with complete information, while everyone else was operating blind. Several species representatives began shouting demands for immediate military action. They felt violated by the revelation that humans had been spying on them for centuries. The sense of privacy and security that had existed for so long was completely shattered. Admiral Jae-ho tried to restore calm by pointing out that humans could have attacked at any time during their surveillance period. Instead, they had waited and approached peacefully. This restraint might indicate genuine desire for cooperation. The debate grew even more heated as species began arguing among themselves. Some accused others of being too trusting, while different groups claimed their neighbors were being too aggressive. The unity that had held galactic civilization together for millennia was starting to crack. Intelligence Officer Hae-won reported that human technology appeared to be completely indigenous. They had not stolen galactic designs, but had developed their own solutions to technological problems. This independence made them unpredictable and potentially dangerous. As the session stretched into its second day, exhaustion began to show on many faces. Chancellor Bora called for breaks, but representatives were too agitated to rest. The presence of the human fleet at the galactic border created urgency that made calm discussion impossible. Captain Hyunwoo continued to broadcast occasional messages offering cooperation and friendship, but also making clear that humans would not accept being forced back into isolation. Earth had grown strong during their quarantine and would defend their new freedom. The Council faced an impossible choice. They could accept human membership and risk losing control of galactic development, or they could try to force humanity back into quarantine and risk a war they might not win. Either path led to fundamental changes in how the galaxy operated. As representatives argued through the night, it became clear that the old order was ending. Whether through peaceful integration or violent conflict, humanity had returned to change everything. The only question was whether that change would come through cooperation or conquest. The great chamber filled with the sound of hundreds of species all talking, at once, each trying to find a solution to a problem that had no easy answers. The humans waited patiently at the border while the galaxy struggled to decide its own future. The diplomatic ship Harmony moved slowly through space toward the human fleet. Ambassador Ye-jun sat in his command chair, trying to stay calm, but his hands would not stop shaking. He had handled first contact situations before, but never anything like this. The Phoenix was so large it blocked out the stars behind it. Engineer Subin studied her scanner readings and could hardly believe what she saw. The human ship was built unlike anything in galactic records. Instead of the smooth curves, most species-preferred humans had created a vessel that looked like a floating fortress. Every surface seemed designed to absorb damage and keep fighting. The Harmony was supposed to maintain a safe distance, but Captain Hyun-woo had different ideas. He sent a message inviting the diplomatic team to come closer and dock with his ship. Ambassador Ye-jun wanted to refuse, but the invitation was polite and firm, in a way that made refusal seem rude. As they approached the Phoenix, the size difference became overwhelming. The human ship could have carried a dozen vessels like the Harmony inside its cargo bays. Subin noticed that the hull plating was thicker than anything she had ever seen. It would take their most powerful weapons hours to cut through armor like that. Captain Hyun-woo appeared on their communication screen, and Ambassador Ye-jun got his first close look at a human in 800 years. The man looked surprisingly normal, with dark hair and calm eyes that seemed much older than his face. He wore a simple uniform without decorations or symbols of rank. The human captain spoke in careful Galactic standard, but Ambassador Ye-jun could tell it was not his first language. Captain Hyun-woo explained that Earth had been listening to galactic communications for many generations. They had learned languages and studied other species while remaining hidden. This news shocked the diplomatic team. The galaxy had assumed humans were cut off completely from outside contact, but they had been watching and learning the whole time. They knew about galactic politics, trade routes, and military capabilities while revealing nothing about themselves. Engineer Subin asked about human technology, and Captain Hyun-woo smiled slightly before answering. He said humans had developed differently than other species. Instead of joining the galactic community and sharing knowledge, they had been forced to solve problems alone. This isolation had led them down paths no other species had explored. Captain produced a small crystal device and handed it to Ambassador Ye-jun. He explained that it contained Earth formal petition to rejoin galactic civilization. The document outlined human achievements during their isolation and their desire for peaceful relationships with other species. Ambassador Ye-jun activated the crystal and information flowed across his screen. The details were amazing. Humans had not just survived their quarantine, they had thrived. They had built cities throughout their solar system and developed technologies that seemed impossible. The petition showed pictures of human colonies on multiple worlds and moons. Their population had grown to over 50 billion people during isolation. They had created artificial intelligences faster than light communication and manufacturing systems that could build entire cities in months. But the most shocking revelation came when Ambassador Ye-jun asked about the other ships in the human fleet. Captain Hyun-woo admitted that Earth had sent a full battle group to ensure their ambassador's safety. The Phoenix was just one of 60 ships waiting at the edge of sensor range. Subin quickly adjusted her equipment to scan for the hidden fleet. The energy signatures she found made her gasp. The humans had brought enough firepower to fight the entire galactic military and possibly win. Each ship was as advanced as the Phoenix, and they were all perfectly coordinated. Ambassador Ye-jun realized that this was not really a negotiation. The humans were not asking for permission to rejoin galactic society. They were informing everyone that they intended to do so. The polite language could not hide the fact that Earth now had the power to enforce its wishes. Captain Hyun-woo seemed to understand the ambassador's thoughts. He explained that humans preferred peaceful solutions but would defend themselves if threatened. The long isolation had taught them to be self-sufficient, and they would not accept being caged. Again, the human captain offered to share some of their technological advances as a sign of good faith. He activated a holographic display showing new methods for energy generation, medical treatments, and space construction. The technologies could revolutionize life throughout the galaxy. But Engineer Subin noticed something else about the human ship. It was not just advanced, it was completely self-sufficient. The Phoenix could operate for years without returning to base. It carried its own manufacturing facilities, medical bay, and even entertainment systems for the crew. This independence was something no galactic ship possessed. Most vessels relied on regular resupply and maintenance from specialized facilities. But humans had designed their ships to be complete worlds unto themselves. They could go anywhere and do anything without help from others. Ambassador Yejun asked about human intentions beyond rejoining galactic society. Captain Hyun-woo's explanation was simple. Earth wanted to explore the galaxy, trade with other species, and contribute to the common good. They had spent centuries learning about their neighbors and wanted to finally meet them. The captain also revealed that humans had been preparing for this moment for generations. They had studied galactic law, learned diplomatic protocols, and developed technologies specifically designed to help other species. Their scientists had worked for decades creating gifts to share with new allies. As the meeting continued, Ambassador Yejun began to understand that humans had changed during their isolation. The violent reputation that led to their quarantine might no longer be accurate. These people seemed thoughtful, careful, and genuinely interested in peace. But the ambassador also realized that human power made their peaceful intentions almost irrelevant. Whether other species trusted them or not, humans now had the ability to go wherever they wanted and do whatever they chose. The galaxy would have to adapt to this new reality. Engineer Subin privately wondered how humans had achieved so much in isolation. The technologies they displayed were not just advanced. They represented completely new ways of thinking about science and engineering. Earth had become something unique in the galaxy, Captain. Hyun-woo concluded the meeting by inviting Ambassador Yejun to visit Earth and see human civilization firsthand. He promised that any diplomatic mission would be welcomed with honor and given full access to human achievements. As the harmony departed from the Phoenix ambassador, Yejun knew that galactic history was about to change completely. The humans had returned, and they were nothing like anyone expected. They were stronger, smarter, and more advanced than the species that had once judged them too dangerous for civilization. The question now was whether the galaxy would welcome these returning humans or try to force them back into isolation. But looking at the power of the human, Fleet Ambassador Yejun suspected that choice no longer belonged to anyone but humanity itself. The alarm sounds echoed through the massive space station that guards the outer edge of known space. Commander Taemin jumped from his chair as red lights flashed all around him. Something had crossed the forbidden boundary, and that was supposed to be impossible. The giant screens showed energy readings that made no sense at all. Sora pressed buttons on her control panel, trying to understand what the sensors were telling her. She had worked at this monitoring station for 10 years and never seen readings like these. The unknown ship was big, really big, and it was moving slowly toward the inner systems like it had every right to be there. The energy coming from this mystery ship was stronger than anything in their computer files. It burned, so bright on the screens that Sora had to turn down the display just to look at it properly. The ship design was completely unknown to any species in the galaxy. Database. Commander Taemin walked over to Sora Station and stared at the readings, himself. His hands were shaking slightly because he knew what this could mean. If an unknown species had developed technology this advanced, they could be a threat to everyone in the galaxy. The last time something like this happened, 3 star systems had been destroyed before the threat was stopped. Sora opened all communication channels and began sending the standard warning messages in 12 different galactic languages. She told the unknown ship to identify itself and explain why it had entered forbidden space. The messages went out on every frequency they had, but for long minutes there was no response. Then suddenly a voice came through the speakers, clear and strong. The voice spoke in broken galactic standard, but the words were easy to understand. This is Captain Hyun-woo of Earth Vessel Phoenix. We mean no harm. We request permission to speak with galactic authorities. Commander Taemin felt his blood turn cold. Earth was a name from old history books, a planet that had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy hundreds of years ago. The humans who lived there had been judged too dangerous to join galactic civilization. They were supposed to be trapped on their own world, unable to travel between stars. But here was a human ship, not just any ship, but something that looked like it could fight the entire galactic fleet and win. The Phoenix held its position just inside the boundary line. Its weapons were powered down, but its shields glowed with energy that hurt to look at directly. Sora ran deep scans on the human ship, and the results made her gasp. The hull was made from materials that did not exist in any galactic database. The energy core was running on principles that should have been impossible according to known science. Everything about this ship suggested that humans had learned things the galaxy had never discovered. Emergency signals went out to every major world and space station in known space. The news that humans had somehow broken their quarantine and appeared with advanced technology sent shockwaves through government buildings everywhere. Defense fleets began moving toward the border, ready for possible war on the capital world of the Galactic Council. Emergency meetings started. Immediately, Defense Minister Wu Jin demanded that military forces attack the human ship before it could do any damage. He remembered the old stories about human violence and wanted them destroyed quickly. But science advisor Da Un argued for a different approach. She pointed out that the humans had not attacked anyone and were asking for peaceful contact. Maybe they had changed during their long isolation. Maybe they were no longer the violent species of old stories. The debate grew heated. As more council members joined the discussion, some species remembered humans as dangerous warriors who solved problems with fighting. Others had only heard stories and wondered if the tales were even true. The Phoenix waited patiently while the galaxy argued about what to do. Captain Hyunwoo sent another message explaining that his ship carried important information for the galactic government. He said Earth had been watching and learning during their isolation and now wanted to rejoin the community of worlds peacefully. The message was polite but firm, showing that humans would not simply go away if ignored. Deep space sensors detected more energy signatures moving toward the boundary. At first, the readings were unclear, but soon, the truth became obvious. The Phoenix was not alone. More human ships were approaching from the direction of Earth. The quarantine had not just failed, it had become completely meaningless. Military analysts studied the approaching fleet, and their reports were frightening. Each human ship was larger and more powerful than the finest vessels in the galactic fleet. The humans had somehow built a space navy that could challenge the entire galaxy working together. This was not just a diplomatic mission. It was a show of strength. Commander Taemin watched his screens as the situation grew more complex. Every hour brought new human ships to the border area. They maintained perfect formation and made no threatening moves, but their presence changed everything. The galaxy had spent centuries believing humans were primitive and contained. Now that belief was shattered forever. The Phoenix continued to wait for an official response. Its captain seemed completely calm about having invaded galactic space with a battle fleet. Most species would have been terrified to face the combined might of hundreds of worlds, but Captain Hyunwoo acted like he was simply visiting neighbors. As news of the human arrival spread, panic began on many worlds. Some species demanded immediate military action, while others called for careful negotiation. The old question that had caused the original quarantine returned with new urgency. What should the galaxy do about humanity? The monitoring station became the center of galactic attention, as every government wanted constant updates on human activities. Commander Taemin found himself reporting directly to the highest levels of galactic leadership. His small border post had become the most important place in known space. Communication attempts continued, but Captain Hyunwoo would only repeat his request to speak with proper authorities. He refused to explain how humans had developed their technology or why they had chosen this moment to end their isolation. The Phoenix and its escort fleet waited with the patience of those who held all the advantages as the first day ended with no resolution. Commander Taemin realized that everything was about to change. The galaxy had lived with certain rules and assumptions for centuries. Now, humans had returned to challenge all of it. The small monitoring station fell quiet except for the hum of computers tracking the most important event in galactic history. The Phoenix floated in space like a question mark that demanded an answer. Whether that answer would be war or peace remained to be seen, but one thing was certain: the age of human isolation had ended forever. The final vote approached as representatives from 400 species gathered in the Great Council chamber. For the last time, Under the old order, Chancellor Bora stood at the center podium, knowing that whatever happened today would reshape galactic civilization forever. Admiral Siwu commanded the defense fleet that surrounded both the human ships and the galactic border. His vessels were ready for either peace or war, but everyone knew which outcome the galaxy preferred. The human fleet had grown to over 200 ships as Earth continued to demonstrate its incredible industrial capacity. Each new human vessel that arrived carried not weapons of conquest, but gifts for the galaxy, medical supplies that could cure diseases, thought incurable manufacturing equipment that could end resource scarcity, and educational materials that could advance every species' understanding of science. Captain Hyun Woo prepared to address the council in person for the first time. He would stand before beings whose ancestors had once feared his people and argue for a future where that fear was replaced by cooperation and mutual growth. The great chamber fell silent as Captain Hyun Woo entered, wearing a simple uniform that bore no symbols of rank or authority. He walked calmly to the speaking platform, surrounded by hundreds of alien eyes that watched his every movement with fascination and concern. His speech was not the grand oratory that many expected, but a quiet conversation between old neighbors who had been separated by misunderstanding. Captain Hyun Woo spoke about humanity's journey from ancient builders to modern explorers, acknowledging past mistakes while offering hope for the future. The human captain explained that Earth had spent centuries learning from the errors that had destroyed their original empire. They had developed new ways of thinking about power and responsibility that emphasized protection rather than domination. Dr. Sujin demonstrated medical technologies that could extend lifespans for dozens of species, showing how human science could benefit everyone, rather than giving advantages only to Earth. The techniques were freely shared, with complete technical specifications. Engineer Won Bin revealed manufacturing methods that could produce goods faster and cheaper than any existing systems, but required cooperation between multiple species to work properly. The technology was designed to encourage unity rather than competition. The presentations made clear that human advancement was not meant to replace galactic civilization, but to enhance it. Earth had prepared for centuries to return as partners who could contribute to the common good, rather than conquerors who would impose their will. Species representatives asked hard questions about human intentions and received honest answers. Captain Hyun Woo admitted that some humans still disagreed with the peaceful approach, but said that Earth government was committed to cooperation above all other considerations. The vote was closer than anyone had expected, with exactly half the species supporting human membership and half opposing it. Chancellor Bora held the deciding vote, and the chamber fell completely silent as she considered the choice. She spoke about her own species' history and how they had once been feared by others for their advanced technology. But cooperation had brought prosperity, while isolation had brought stagnation. The galaxy needed new ideas and fresh perspectives to continue growing. The final tally showed support for human membership by the